Hi there, Samuel. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting this essay for you today. Let's take a look. Okay, I'm just taking a look at your email. So it sounds like you need a 7 in writing. Let's see how you did with this. And okay, let's take it from there. This is the essay about ex-prisoners, so here's what you wrote. There is an opinion that people who were once arrested and served their time in prison can change and turn into good and law-abiding citizens who can later be the most suitable people for talking to youngsters about how dangerous it is to commit a crime. This essay will discuss the reasons why I completely agree with this statement. Okay, well, here's the good news. The grammar of this is very good, and that was certainly a very tricky sentence that you had here. You've given us your opinion, which is absolutely appropriate. You were supposed to do that, so great. I thought this sentence was too long. I actually had to read it twice to make sure that it was accurate and that I understood it. It was, and I did, but I still think it's a good idea to avoid sentences that are this long. They tend to kind of lose coherence. And they require the reader generally to read them at least a couple of times. And you don't really want that. The examiner has dozens of essays to read when he or she is examining, and anything that is kind of cumbersome or a little difficult doesn't really serve you well. So this probably could have been split into 2 sentences. It would have been still a complex and a grammatically sophisticated sentence, but it would have been easier to read. Ways you could have done this. Let me see if I can come up with, just kind of off the cuff, maybe one suggestion of how you could do this. Let's see. There is an opinion that people who were once arrested and served their time in prison can change and turn into good and law-abiding citizens. Full stop here. This then makes them the most suitable people for talking to youngsters about how dangerous it is to commit a crime. Okay, that was one way you could have done it. It's still grammatically advanced. So let's keep going with this. To begin, we must consider 2 potential downsides of teenagers meeting former inmates. Some people would argue that criminals never change and thus they would be only lying to children to gain fame or money. Other people might worry about some children interpreting those stories in such a way that it would motivate them for not for criminal actions. Let's try that again. It would motivate them to commit criminal actions instead of discouraging them. Instead of discouraging them. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. For example, an easily suggestible child, avoid the word kid, could see a short time in jail as being worth a try. Okay, I want to talk to you about this paragraph, but before I do that, I want to read your next paragraph, and then we'll talk about this more in detail. Okay. Let's see. So you said that they were gaining fame and money, and then, okay, fine. So let's move on. However, I unequivocally believe that people who committed a crime are the most suitable ones to encourage a righteous life in children. There are 2 main reasons for this. First of all, seeing such a person in real life can have a great impact on teenagers' values. They can see their faces, whole bodies, and body language, and thus will understand the complex change jail, get rid of the word a, can cause in one's life. Secondly, hearing firsthand experiences can generate a long-lasting fear and a sense of caution in teenagers' minds. For example, if a youngster realizes he has got thoughts about committing a crime, he or she will first think twice and remember the vivid stories told by criminals. Okay, fine. To conclude, this essay argued why I unequivocally agree that former inmates are the best people to discourage teenagers from criminal acts, even though there can be some pitfalls, such as lying or incorrect interpretation. Seeing such a person in real life and hearing their firsthand experiences can clearly be a life-changing experience with long-lasting effects. Okay. Great. So, the wonderful news about this is that your grammar and your vocabulary and in general your writing are at a very high level. That first sentence that we talked about, that was the only place where I thought your writing was not easy to read. Okay, let's put it like that. The rest of this was really very It flowed really nicely. It was a pleasure to read. I liked it really quite a bit. And that's a great place to be. Because it means that your writing is it's natural, there's precision, there's accuracy, and all of these are wonderful things in your favor. Okay, I thought that you did a really good job of this paragraph. Okay, it was well structured, it was well developed, it was, persuasive, it was convincing, all that was very good. Your conclusion also was very good. So let's talk a little bit about what needs a little work. One little detail here is vocabulary. It's really a minor detail, but I do feel I have to tell you. You said here, I unequivocally believe, and then here you said, I unequivocally agree. A word like unequivocally, I can't even say it. A word like unequivocally, it really kind of stands out. It's a high-level word. It's an uncommon vocabulary word. So when you see it twice in the same essay, it kind of loses its effect. Okay, so it's wonderful to use vocabulary like this, but it stops being as effective if you use it more than once. So that's something to be really careful about. On the other hand, if you use a word like children or youngsters or teenagers multiple times, that's not really a big deal, because they're common words, the words you absolutely need to write this essay. And so it doesn't bother us if you use them multiple times. But a word like this, it really kind of stands out. So when you used it twice, I was kind of like, okay, that's something that needs to not happen. So that was just a minor detail. What I want to talk to you about, though, which is the really important thing in this essay, is this paragraph here. I told you after I read it that we would come back to it. So now I want to tell you why I said that. Let's talk about what this essay asks you to talk about. It says, to what extent do you agree or disagree? Okay, fine. So that means that you have several options here. You can completely agree, you can completely disagree, or you can be somewhere in the middle. Any one of those options is okay in this essay. Now, if you ask me personally, I like the idea of arguing both sides, because I think that when you're at a higher level, discussing both sides shows a certain sophistication of thought, and it shows that you can see the gray areas in the task that they give you, and you are capable of expressing yourself on those gray areas. Okay, a lower level candidate usually has a hard time doing this, but higher level candidates are able to do this. So for that reason, I absolutely agree that this is a good thing to do. Talk somewhere in the middle. But let me tell you what you need to be careful about when you do this. As I said, this asks you to what extent do you agree or disagree. You told us in your introduction, I completely agree that they are the best people. All right, great. Well, yeah, it is. That's fine. But then this paragraph here doesn't make any sense. What you needed to do was you needed to rephrase your thesis statement to explain that your essay covers not only this, where you completely agree, but also this, where you address the downsides of this issue. Okay, so because then from an IELTS standpoint, this really just seems to come out of nowhere. Like we had absolutely no we had no sort of forewarning, okay, or any sort of indication that you were going to talk about the other side. And you don't want to do that, because essentially your thesis statement, this sentence here, it needs to provide a blueprint or sort of like a map for the way the rest of your essay is going to go. So while I agree, of course I agree with this paragraph, and I agree that having this paragraph was worthwhile and you should have it, what you need to change here is this sentence so that it gives your reader this indication that, look, yes, I completely agree that these prisoners are the best people. However, we cannot ignore that there are some downsides to this. And essentially, that's all you really need to do here, okay? So I would change this to say, this essay will discuss why, despite some negatives of such a measure, on the whole, I agree with this statement. Okay, and that's all you really need to do. And then the essay makes absolutely sense. It makes absolute sense. And it's, we understand why you've included this paragraph. We understand then why you have your next paragraph, and everything is perfect. Okay, so that's the main thing that I want to talk to you about. I just looked through your email again, and I understand that you need a 7.5. I think that even something like this could keep you from getting that 7.5 because it's an issue of coherence and cohesion. Okay, your task response is very good, but there is not a logical connection between your ideas and your paragraphs. So there's something missing in the progression of ideas. So yeah, that could keep you for sure from getting that 7.5. Okay, because obviously to get a 7.5, you need at least a couple of 8s, both here and in your task 1. So what I want you to take away from this is understanding how important it is to pay attention to the command or the question. All right, here you've got a question. So pay attention to it and make sure that you absolutely answer it in your thesis statement and that your thesis statement accurately reflects what you're going to talk about in the body paragraphs. Okay, so Samuel, that is pretty much it for this correction. I thought you did a lovely job, but I would like to see what you do actually applying some of the suggestions from this video. And I definitely want to see what you're doing with task 1. So I don't think I saw in your email when you plan on taking the exam, but I would like to encourage you, if you enjoyed this feedback, to sign up for some essay corrections with us. There'll be a link with some information on how you can continue working with us. Because I really want to see what you're doing with task 1. I'm confident that we can help you get to the score you need because your writing is at a high level. I think that what we're really looking at is just some tweaks and some adjustments to get you to the level where you need to be, okay? So hopefully we'll see more work from you. I'm looking forward to it, and I want to wish you tons and tons of luck.